Hello, welcome. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Start by Joe Lucas.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board Member Clancy?
Here. Present.
Board Member Gautel? Present. Board Member Lucas?
Present.
Board Member Martinson?
Present.
Board Member Patton?
Present.
Board Member Spada? Present. Chairperson Alton?
Present.
Let the record indicate the presence of Deputy Corporation Counsel Joseph Lupo. Resolution of the Planning Board acting in the capacity of the Architectural Review Board for the approval of the issuance of the building permit for 92 New Hampshire Street.
Thank you. Just going over this right here, I guess the number one question is everything is in code here again, correct? Is that right? There's no offset variances or anything going on here?
No, if that was the case, that would be resolved before council passed.
Okay, very good.
The gentleman in the audience for this?
Oh, yeah, excuse me. Does anybody have any, is there anybody in the audience who'd like to discuss 92 New Hampshire? No, okay. Very good, thank you.
Yep, we're talking to you.
That's you. Okay. I mean, I'm looking at this plan, and I honestly, it's clearly a FEMA driven project with the first story that's all poured concrete with the garage under it, elevated decks, etc. And I guess the question that we have for our board is any comments on the actual design of the house, or?
I would say it definitely seems to keep the character of the neighborhood, at least the post-Sandy character of the structures that have been built in that area.
Yeah, no doubt, it's very typical of everything that's been lifted or built new since Sandy.
It's a beautiful house.
Yeah, I like it.
Beautiful house.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really, really
Me
beautiful.
too.
yeah, it's got a lot of really nice character. I like the hip roofs, and in fact, I think it looks really, big, I think.
O'Grady's Long Beach guy?
I don't know the O'Grady name a whole lot.
I saw it somewhere. Carl Place.
Yeah,
Would that be called a stable door garage?
yeah, though it's a barn door, is that what they call it? Yeah, style anyway. Sometimes those don't open out, sometimes they roll up even though they look like that. I can't tell what they're doing there.
I don't think that would affect setback.
No.
I'm looking at T3, bunch of different other properties, just the surrounding properties, and they are similar in the sense, they're a lot of them are FEMA compliant, they're elevated, they're not exact replicas of one another, and nor is this one. Yeah,
And not that it's an issue for discussion, but it is on an oversized west end lot, 45 wide. But typically they're 30. So that's
I
probably
had
a
a
lot.
question on that. On T1, it says required is 30 by 60, but proposed is 45 by 60, so
yeah. So,
Is it-
The
It's
typical
only half
west
a
end
second
lots are
lot?
30 by 60. This one obviously must have picked up half a lot.
Okay,
On
so
the
it
other
takes up
side?
half a lot, okay.
Yeah, which is why they can do that side deck. You won't normally see that in the west end. Does anybody have any comments? Anybody want to discuss any of the details on this plan?
I guess there's just a little patch of greenery in the front. Everything else seems to be concrete. Again, I'm not, just a question if that's, it's concrete edge to edge as far as I can tell, just with that front little section.
Yeah, I see this area in the, on the bottom left here. That looks like it's grass and trees, is that correct?
Arborvitae and
Arborvitae and
flowers.
Yeah. And then I do see the concrete walk on the other side, but there's only a walk, and then, the neighbor's fence is there, I see that, okay. Concrete walk again. So, that once again does raise the same thing we brought up last month, which lends itself to whether or not we should request some drainage, at least in the back of the house or somewhere where they don't even use it. A drainage gravel bed under the leaders. Do you think?
I'm all for drainage always, that just not knowing where it's gonna go, if there's no retaining wall or anything else, it could go to the neighbors, it could go to the back neighbors.
Yeah, and to a
the
point
west
that,
end.
to a point that Joe brought up before is that even though the city does have, usually has adequate drainage for any overflow that goes to the street, these often shed into the neighbors' properties, so I think it would be good to try and protect that potential problem down the road. Are you recommending that? Okay. Anything else?
Is this on the ocean or?
No, 92 would not be on the ocean, it'd be a lower number. This might even be on the north side.
Mid-block?
Yeah, close to the park. So
No,
it'd
I'm
be
just curious about the concrete wall and the chicken wire fence.
Yeah, the chicken wire fence, you usually don't see that in plans. It's very interesting. Concrete wall, chicken wire fence.
That's from the neighbor, no?
Yeah,
That's the neighbor's?
That might be an existing fence.
Yeah, that's the neighbor's.
oh, is that what that is? Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that would make more sense.
Yeah, because there's a concrete walk next to it.
I mean, I can see chain link, but I can't see planning for chicken wire.
Yeah,
Not with a home like this.
when you look at a structure like that and someone put chicken wire
That's how I was
fence
thinking, I
up
was like,
there.
oh, it must be the fence for the, it must be the beach fence, that's the thing.
Yeah, that would make sense, yeah. You're right. Okay. I see that.
Yeah, because here's the white, the C fence for the neighbor.
Okay, I think that we're going to stick with our standard recommendation that they put a gravel absorption bed underneath the leaders.
Just to be clear, Chairman Olton?
Yes.
The leaders, just in the rear of the house, or?
I think in the rear of the house I think the front would probably most likely flow to the street, but in the rear of the house, so it doesn't run down the sidewalk, okay?
So just to be clear, if anybody would like to make a motion, it would be a motion to grant with the condition that that there's a gravel bed placed beneath the leaders in the rear yard in the back two corners of the house, which would be directionally,
That would be, the north would be, so that would mean east side of the house, the back of the house is on the east side, okay? And you could say gravel bed or dry well, by the way, that would be acceptable too, but I'm assuming gravel bed is the way you do it for something this small, because it's only a 4-foot path, okay?
Is the gravel bed or the dry well, is that part of code?
It's,
the gravel bed does not go against the code.
Okay.
Actually digging up and putting a dry well in, that would be an entirely separate permit.
oh, it would be,
Yeah.
okay, I wasn't even aware of that, okay.
And I guess even if it's not gravel, I guess any permeable.
Permeable
surface,
bed,
Just,
yeah.
yeah, something that's permeable.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know if we're trying to remedy a problem that we don't know even exists. The fact that the water gets absorbed could be problematic in terms of the water table, and it could affect neighbors also adversely, so.
Well, I'm basing my comment or recommendation based on past variance issues where we had neighbors come in and complain that their neighbor paved the entire perimeter of their house and the water spills into their property all the time and creates a freeze and ice safety problem whenever that happens. That's what I'm basing that on. And I remember that was a bit of a problem that we had, in fact, I don't know if you remember the
I'm
case.
certainly sure that happens, but
Yeah.
we have no idea if that would happen in this instance, or
We don't know.
would it create another problem that we're unaware of?
I don't think absorbing water in the ground should create any problem. I mean, if the water table's that high, I don't think that's going to make a difference. Then it will just simply overflow and do what it would do without the gravel bed, right? I mean, if it's super saturated, then it's just going to flow out to the street anyway. That would be my understanding.
Can we do this with a suggestion of a gravel bed without forcing them to do a gravel bed? Like, we suggest that you do a gravel bed for drainage, but, if they want to do
you know, something where, you know, do a dry well instead, or, you know, maybe it's actually going down their driveway, or, you know, I'm thinking about my house, I don't think I have a gravel bed, mine just goes straight down my driveway.
If it goes straight down your driveway, then it's going to hit the street, which is not a problem because we have our own drainage
Gotcha.
out there.
Yeah, I'm just asking.
Like I said, I'm just simply basing this on a case that was in that whole area, down on the end of Westchester, that little area with the gravel, road. There was a big problem there with somebody doing this, and I remember it being something that made a lot of sense. I thought, okay, so this is a problem when we overpave, right?
I mean, I see it on sidewalks even as it goes out to the street.
Yeah.
I mean,
It
sidewalks, if
happens
the
in my
sidewalks
house.
aren't even, you
Yeah.
get ice patches on the sidewalk.
Yeah, we have street drainage on my street, and it still puddles up so many inches, I gotta jump over it if it's raining
Right.
heavily enough, so it
Right.
is a problem, yeah.
Yeah, and if, even if it's not, like, I guess if we're trying to say, like, if we don't know if there's a problem, maybe it'd be nice to see how are they addressing to make sure that the drainage is going where it should go and not into the neighbor's
Yeah.
property, at the very least, so, I don't know.
Is that not part of, doesn't the architect actually figure out drainage within the property when they're kind of putting this together? The case you're giving is someone who paved after, so it wouldn't be a new build. And I'm wondering if on a new build, an architect would take that drainage into account.
That's a good point, but if you don't see anything that recommends dry wells or drainage, it doesn't necessarily, I don't know if they're held to it. And it's probably a discussion we should have, or do a little more research into, because there should be a percentage of everything that allows for drainage.
Yeah, that's what
Right.
I'm thinking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish we had a rendering of the rear of the house,
I know.
just to see where the downspouts are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they don't have any of that here.
Yeah.
That's probably a good
Yeah,
reason to bring it
I
up.
agree.
Yeah, it's very, very minimalist. In fact, this house doesn't even have any neighbors. It's-
It's old Long Beach.
Yeah. It's very pretty. I'd like to know where that neighborhood is.
Yeah, I mean, just judging by the roof, I mean, there's gonna be a gutter on, even just judging by the roof, there's gonna be a gutter on the back of the house.
Oh, this house is,
No
yeah,
doubt.
this house definitely has gutters in all four corners, there's no
Yeah.
doubt, no doubt. I think I'd like to hold that recommendation moving forward, and maybe even recommend that people detail that plan if they don't agree with it on their, moving forward, like how they would deal with it.
So, now, just so everybody knows, because, you know, it seems that we have different feelings on it, anyone could make a motion either with the condition of the gravel or permeable substance, and then if somebody else also feels that way, then they would second it, and then you would all vote. If that vote doesn't pass, then somebody else would have the opportunity to make a motion on just granting the application as is, and then somebody could second that and then do that. Yeah,
Okay, so would anybody like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve on the condition that gravel or some permeable pavement is used so that, in the permeable pavement's used somewhere in the back of the house.
On the leaders that are away from the street?
Yes.
for the downspouts. Would anyone like a second?
I'll second.
Resolution of the Planning Board acting in the capacity of the Architectural Review Board for the approval of the issuance of the building permit for 92 New Hampshire Street. Board Member Clancy has made a motion to approve with the conditions stated on the record, and Board Member Patton has seconded the motion. Voting, Board Member Clancy?
Yes.
Board Member Galto?
Yes.
Board Member Lucas?
No.
Board Member Martinson?
Yes.
Board Member Patton?
Yes.
Board Member Spada?
Yes.
Chairperson Olden?
And with conditions, yes.
This case has been granted with the conditions stated on the record.
Yeah, is there a way like Richie or come here one day and advise us on this?
I could ask.
just so for our personal knowledge?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what, I could definitely ask him, and even if,
Even if he just verbals?
yeah, well, that's what I was gonna say, even if he can't physically come here because of other obligations, we can always propose the question in an email and actually get it.
Yeah, that's a good idea, and because it would be good to know from a code standpoint what the absorption requirements are per square foot of a build, right?
Okay, so I'm gonna write that down as a question, and I'll make sure it's answered by next meeting,
I
okay?
don't want to have any undue financial burden to someone who's, obviously spending a lot of money to put a house together here.
Yeah,
And make them put in, $2,000 worth of gravel in the back of their house that they don't need. That's
except
what
if they're
I'm
putting it in
concerned
place of concrete, I think it's probably a wash, but yeah. If it's something that would be objectively high, then I guess that's something we should consider.
Ready for the next one? Resolution of the Planning Board acting in the capacity of the Architectural Review Board for the approval of the issuance of the building permit for 51 Forester Street.
Gotcha.
Okay. Thank you very much. So second case, 51 Forester Street, huh?
Sir, are you here to speak about 51 Forester Street? We welcome you anyway, that's okay. Happy you're here.
Okay, this is up in the canals. This is the first street. Isn't this the first street in the canals that faces the East School or something like that?
It's close, it's,
I think it's by Clark, right? Right by Clark, right?
it's like Forest and.
Pull it up.
Okay.
I'll pull it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I saw fencing and stuff.
We've got a lot of grass.
Yeah, we won't have that problem. At
The
least,
architect
at least,
had,
at least in the pictures without neighbors.
We never knew this block existed.
I don't think it goes
Yeah.
with
And it's right across from
how
the
the
East
other
School, isn't it?
houses look. It's just such a different house.
So let me see if I can get a satellite image instead of
I
the
find it very
map view.
unusual looking.
It's just a little more modern.
I don't know.
Very modern looking house.
Yes,
A flat roof, right? Is that a flat?
it looks like
It looks like a flat roof, yeah, slightly pitched.
It's down, is it east of
Okay, yeah,
here?
all right.
Like from the color to
They're showing them the location.
that box in the
Yeah,
front.
so it's down the block from,
Okay,
it's all the same.
I mean, I've seen some in
Okay,
the
yeah.
canal area that
That looks like that?
more and more modern,
You don't
Yeah.
have to worry about that.
but not
I mean, I've
directly in
seen,
the area.
yeah,
Can
yeah.
we,
The mics.
But
we gotta have side conversations, because
No, no,
the
I-
record's not clear.
Okay, so just to make the record clear, did not intend on having side conversations. I actually pulled up the property on my phone to demonstrate its location is just south of East School, and it is not directly across from East School.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Ms. Lynch, for
Keeping us in order.
It wasn't just to you, this,
Okay.
I was pointing out that I don't believe that that house looks like any other property in the area. I find it very unusual looking. From the color to the design, it's just,
It's difficult to assess
Yeah.
in comparing it with other
because there's
houses
not.
in the neighborhood.
Yeah,
because
th-
There's
these-
such a variety
This chart of
in that
pictures
area.
doesn't really even give you much, yeah.
I mean, it's like everything looks different.
yeah, nothing looks.
Nothing looks the same
Similar.
as anything else. And if someone can,
It's like a box.
if you can help me out, I mean, I'm not all that familiar with the canals. Is there a character to the neighborhood that you would?
Well, since Sandy, the catch is that since Sandy, all the new builds are so different from everything that's, vintage. It's just seems to be going on everywhere.
This particular block has a lot of the old housing, but as Barry said, if you go block,
Yeah,
which way is that? That's the east.
east.
Yeah, you'll see, the new houses that are more prevalent in the west end, there. But this house, on that block would be the first, looks like the first new.
I think the one we saw last week was the kind of the same way, it was modern, right?
Yeah.
It was in the canals, and it was the same kind of like look. And not my taste, but I don't find it as an eyesore.
No, I mean, if you view it, some of the comps, like 44 Forester, for example,
Yeah.
it's a large house, similar, without the decks and whatnot. It is, a bit more of a boxy style. Then across the street on 621 East Pond is another
Yeah, I see
large
that.
home.
Yeah, 44 Forester is not even as nice, in fact. Maybe
No,
I'll take this over this.
but it is kind of similar,
It's in the boxiness, yeah. I agree with that.
And even that property that's in the same picture, but to the right of 44 Forester, almost looks like a smaller version
Yeah.
without the decks
Oh,
of this
yeah.
property, so it's.
Yeah, but
It looks like a Dune
still with
Road
the
house.
brick and the windows.
Yeah, I mean, it is the hardy siding,
Look pretty.
Oh, I like that side.
which is a real nice siding.
Yeah,
There's
it
a
has
lot of,
Really?
Yeah,
lot.
it's a cement board, yeah. It's
I have
a
it,
deep color cement
great.
board. It's a good product.
Yeah, it's great.
And then the black roofing, white fascia, white trim and soffit. You know, there is one house that had this kind of a so out of character, but when it went up, it actually is very attractive, so.
We were just discussing that house earlier.
Do you like it?
It grew on me.
It grew on me too.
Yeah, it grew on me.
Yeah,
But
in the beginning, I thought,
colors-
what are they doing?
The colors are different than this.
Yeah.
I don't know if they want this to be gray and blue, but
That has some woods
it's
and
got
everything.
wood
Yeah,
and white, and so it looked more beachy
yeah,
than,
and some glass, in fact, too, I
right,
think.
a lot of glass.
Yeah, which is nice.
Yeah.
This looks very boxy in terms of even the decks are all totally enclosed with wood.
Windows very small.
Hmm?
Windows seem small we were discussing that.
Yeah,
Yeah, the windows on the side of the house, I don't know what rooms those would be, but they're odd, different shapes.
I think there's two particular instances where, like, if they were taking down like a classic house that had like old bones and stuff like that, I would have a problem with this, But that's not it, they're taking down a crappy house and they're building a nice house, so, I feel like our job is like to keep those, those Tudors and, in Long Beach and make sure that no one knocks those down anymore and stuff like that,
yeah. The problem is, like, for example, even though those boxed-in rails, that could be very offensive to some neighbors, but we have no idea of the context, the way this is laid out right here, Are they blocking somebody's view? Do these?
Well, I know it's on a corner, it's a corner house.
Okay, okay.
The only other thing that I will say with respect to that is, if the home needed any variances, it would have gone to the zoning board before it came here, right? So, I don't want to say that they could build it as of right, meaning that it doesn't have any overview, or that you all don't have any say in that, because you do. But just also keep in mind that, overall, with respect to this being an architectural review project, in essence, you want, good quality products. It's not an eyesore. I mean, and does it plausibly fit? I think that there are some houses on the block clearly that are quite different. But then there are also a couple that, even though they might have different aspects, they're a little bit similar in the sense that they're a little boxy, right?
Was
So,
this a subdivision? Because Google Earth shows it as a full tree-filled
if
property
it was a
next to a house.
subdivision, it was subdivided prior to my tenure.
Okay, yeah. Obviously, it's already there, if that's the case.
Yeah, I was there today, like, it's got trees on it, it's cleared in the middle.
So it is a
It's like a clear
subdivision.
plot of land
Okay. Okay. And this is up near, that's your, yeah.
there.
Okay, well,
Is there anything that we could suggest to change about it which might make it more acceptable to people? I don't know which direction anyone's going in. But Does anyone have suggestions as to what could
I'd prefer more transparency on the rails. I think that if they want to block the wind, I think it'd be nicer in glass. That's my only thought about this, okay?
And the wall of the deck apparently is gonna be silver gray vertical siding.
Mm-hmm.
I think that sounds cool, but that's just me and I don't live here.
Yeah. And as far as with the, has any neighbors complained about it, or is it?
No, so the architectural review projects, it's a public hearing.
Right.
But in compliance with open meetings law, the public doesn't always have a right to voice their opinion.
Okay.
In this context, they don't. With the planning board, with the zoning board, for example, we do give them that right.
Okay, so once this goes to the zoning board, and if somebody doesn't like the railings,
Just
They
so
can
you
come
know,
in.
for full transparency, this doesn't have to go to this, if something has to go to the zoning board,
Right.
and then you guys, it's gonna go to zoning first. By the time you all look at it in an architectural review capacity,
Mm-hmm.
any variances that it needs, it would already have, or if it was denied variances, the plans would be amended to reflect that, now it is in compliance.
Mm-hmm.
So, strictly speaking, with respect to oversight, once this gets to the architectural review board, nobody else will say yea or nay.
build the forest on Forester?
and there's no variance.
Good point. They're getting rid of the
No,
forest and
not in this
forest.
one.
So next month, regarding that other project, the public will be invited to make comments?
Yes. And even though there's no legal notice requirement for ARB cases, they're all still published on the city site. So, because it is an open meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Ms. Lynch.
That's my only comment, and I don't know if I would say denied based on that, but I do think it would be nicer if there was a little more transparency since it's got so much block terraces around it.
I mean, I could say that I would like the deck to be built with materials that will fit more with the neighborhood, but I don't see other decks to compare it to.
A lot of vinyl. A lot of vinyl material.
So I don't know,
Another thing to consider is, hypothetically speaking, I'm not sure if this is a builder or if it's actually the homeowner building this house, but
That's a good point.
That
if
changes
it's,
everything.
it changes everything because once the house is built, once a builder builds the house and it's
Yeah.
built and then sells it to the homeowner, if the homeowner wants to make a change that doesn't require a variance, there's
Yeah.
nothing to stop it.
And it's all that we just talked about. Mhm. Yeah, I get that. Mhm.
And we'll never know, we don't know if this is a builder. It looks like a builder's house.
Well,
They're
it is,
building-
do you know Anthony Rector?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
He's a
So
builder.
this is the
It's
style
him?
of houses that he does, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Yeah, so like even his own house, it looks like a
Okay.
cool shed, yeah.
This is
the
style.
that
Is he the
does.
builder for this?
Yeah. Mhm.
Oh, God, it makes sense now. All right.
Yeah, he's Long Beach guy.
Mhm.
Very, very nice family.
Mhm. All right, any other comments?
the only comment.
Happy to see some grass.
Grass.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we approve as is.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Executive.
Okay. Resolution of the Planning Board acting in the capacity of the Architectural Review Board for the approval of the issuance of the building permit for 51 Forester Street. Board Member Lucas had made a motion to approve, and Board Member Martinson has seconded the motion. Board Member Clancy?
Yes.
Board Member Gauto?
No.
Board Member Lucas?
Yes.
Board Member Martinson?
Yes.
Board Member Patton? Board Member Spada?
Yes.
Chairperson Olden?
Yes, approved.
This application has been approved.
So we don't have any other cases, but if you guys want to hang out and chat,
All right, so thank
gonna
you,
go.
everybody.
Do you want to just close the meeting, and then I'll turn the camera off, and then we can
Close,
chat?
close, okay, everybody done? Any further comments?
No hot mics, please.
Okay. All right, so thank you very much.
Meeting is now closed.
Meeting is now closed.
Hit the gavel.
Can I sing now?
So, the last month was, my kids had